TN does have a new software, so most people have cell phones.
Yep.
And nowadays they can triangulate the cell phones pretty close.
That's good.
All right, you're live.
If you don't access your GPS, they can still track you.
Oh, yes.
You're live. Of course, now I'm going to have to change the name of it, but...
Okay, 6 o'clock.
Just in time.
Hey, Bill. How you doing? Guys, pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome. We have Tim Petrikis and Tim Keeney, Selectman. Mike Marinaccio, Chief Financial Officer. Brian Wissinger, Assistant Finance Director. John Roach, Chief of the Fire Department. And Todd Rowland, Department of Public Works Director. And guest Kathy Devlin and Bill himself from Board of Finance, Bill Meyer. All right, the first item on the agenda is scheduled payment authorizations. Get this out of the way first. Gentlemen, have received a copy of that.
Yep. Got it.
Any questions or concerns?
I've reviewed it in advance and went over my questions with Brian to save time this evening.
Tim?
None for me.
Okay. Motion.
That was the dollar amount.
Total dollar, I'm sorry.
Make a motion to approve the payment authorization in the amount of $147,793.27.
Second the motion.
Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, we're going to have a budget discussion. You all received the information that Brian sent out regarding the current Town of Summers expenditure in general fund. And I'd like to make a few comments before we get started.
What are we looking at first? I want to make sure I got the right document.
This right here, Tim.
Okay.
I emailed you an updated version today.
Yeah, I got that one.
All right.
So we're looking at the one with the quarter
I've tried
220,
to print it, it's all
2020.
screwed up. It's all
The last page shows the total budget.
Yeah, but there's been changes since I was trying to print it with changes. I can print the PDF, the old PDF. It's
You have it, Tim?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure the one that we're all working on has a footer that says 2/20/2020, 8:53 a.m. Is that the right one?
220.
The last
that's
page is expenditure general fund.
correct.
yeah.
Got
Last
it.
page is what then?
Expenditure general fund.
Should have a total of 2021 fiscal year proposed budget of $35,064,000.
Nope. I got a different one.
You sent that out, Brian?
What's that?
You did send it?
The one that I had.
35,042.
The one you're looking at, Bud, has the changes after talking to Jeff today.
Okay.
So the one I've got has a total of $35,042,446.
That's
Yep.
the one I've got.
And so there's going to be some changes to it. And that's what I was trying to print before time for you, but...
Is that it?
No, this is not it either. But I was trying to print it for you. My Excel is all screwed
Who's
up.
got it? When you have a Xerox copy of it. So.
There hasn't been one yet. Yeah, it's on the printer. There's not a copy of the new one. I tried to print it from Excel, and it screwed up all my formatting, and there's like just blank pages in between for some reason.
So I just got a basic question of if some's already been agreed to, is that what we're being presented here? Is that
No, it's
how does
not
that work?
agreed to. We've gone ahead and scrubbed the budget, looked for additional reductions from various departments. Now it's up to the Board of Selectmen to
So what's
The mail- it should be in the-
approve,
Did it go
object,
to the mailroom,
add
or
to,
where did it
delete,
go?
or whatever. And that's what we're going to discuss.
Okay, so
tonight.
what are the figures we're looking at in this proposed budget proposal for?
Might have went to my office. All right, so
Go ahead.
the first couple of changes we made in the selectmen line items in mileage,
So,
Can we get page numbers or something?
Go to the
This would be
first
page
page.
1. This
Go-
would be page 1.
Go to 2/20/2020, 9 a.m.
Yep.
We'll use that one because there's not very many changes.
Yeah, there's literally 3 changes.
Okay, so
but
the
they're
first-
just not
the first
reflected in
page.
yours.
Yep.
We're talking about, we're recommending a reduction in the advertising budget.
That's already been approved. That's already been posted.
Okay,
The changes that you're unaware of are in mileage.
right.
It was originally proposed at 4,000. Looking at the current year actuals and the rates with the after you guys approved it, the you're gonna need all. They're all. It's just all
all
one
different?
page.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's all
Yeah.
one
Oh, it's all
document.
one,
Yeah. So after reviewing with the new rates that you guys voted upon in 2018, the spend is not there for 4,000 anymore. So we reduced that to 2,000.
So what we found, if you recall, Tim, when you were on the board, we found out that our mileage budget was being overspent.
Yep.
So we had initiated rules and regulations associated with out-of-town travel and in-town travel. And we found that's reduced it by a significant amount.
By
So
a
that's the reason
significant
we're
amount.
making this change.
Right.
Cut it almost in half.
And that's
More
mostly
than
for
that.
by using the town vehicle instead of personal
By
vehicles and
using the
reducing the
town
reimbursement.
vehicle.
Well,
It's
it's
a
a combination. More
Okay.
people are using the
Right.
van for in town, and those that are still using their personal vehicle are getting 15 cents a mile as opposed to 53 and a half that it was.
Okay.
So a drastic change there.
Second page.
The next changes are on page 3. Under land use, the professional services line.
I'm trying to find this here. Maybe I'm not looking at the right document. Okay, this is page 1, right?
No, that's the last page. That's
Okay.
page 10. This is page 1, right? Selectmen is at the top. Yeah.
Okay.
So page 3, land use. There's a professional services line. It was budgeted at 10,000, or proposed by Jeff at 10,000. I spoke to him today, looking over historical. When this line was created years ago, it started at 20, and each year it's kind of declined. Current spend in it this year is only $116. I spoke to him, and he said they're doing some topographical surveying, but beyond that, he doesn't have much more. So I asked him, I said, can we go down? What is your surveying going to cost? That is going to cost about $6,000. So he agreed we're going to change that line item from 10 to 6.
Which one is that?
That's
This
under
is
Third one
the
down.
professional
Professional
services.
services.
professional services.
Instead of 10,000, reducing it to 6,000.
Picked up 4 there.
Couple of lines down underneath planning.
Under building.
The advertising budget this year hasn't been spent at all, and dues and seminars hasn't been spent in 3 years. So again, I talked to Jeff about it. I said, what are we doing here? He said a lot of this just gets coded under land use. So we are removing the dues and seminars line altogether and changing the advertising from 1,500 down to 500.
God bless you.
So that goes from 1750 to a net of 500.
Correct.
Yes, so a total of 500. Correct.
Jump ahead to page.
And then on page, let's see, that's 4, 5, page 6. Starts with police. We're looking at the civil prep line item.
Everybody have that?
Nope. What page are you on?
Page 6.
Thank you.
Under
Civil
police
preparedness.
settings.
Civil
Okay.
preparedness.
In the middle of the page.
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So, based on historical trend, In the last 5 years, this account has only once broken $5,000. I spoke with Glenn Reynolds today about it, got his opinion on it. Short of a catastrophic emergency in town, there's no reason to need $10,000. So we're going to cut that in half to $5,000.
So that just means the proposed budget's 5,000.
Correct.
Yep.
That's what it says here.
So there's no reduction.
Right.
Oh, okay. I had already updated that one?
Yeah.
All
Yep,
right.
yep.
I have it penciled here, so I didn't realize I
I
had
also
changed it on
met
yours.
with Glenn about this item, and he feels comfortable with it. We have necessary equipment over at the Emergency Planning Center, and so I think I'm confident with that number.
So how does that fit into his new position of one-day emergency?
So that line is really to buy, to change out the MREs and update them with fresh ones instead of
Cots
having
and that kind of thing for
buying new
emergency.
cots or
Okay.
pillows or
We have
blankets
all
and
that.
so forth.
So he's happy with, he's done an analysis of the current equipment and the supplies,
And then when they run meetings, it's to have supplies for the meetings as well. And so those were all the reductions that took place today. And so you have this little 8-page booklet I put together for you. The first 6 pages you can basically kind of ignore. They're the starts of my budget book that I'm going to put together for the entire town. When you get to page 7, it kind of shows you the overall, and page 8 shows you the drivers that are really increasing everything, and I'll kind of walk through it. As everything stands right now with the budget the cuts that we just discussed, the town budget proposed is $8,372,432, an increase of $403,981, or 5.07% from last year. The 3 main drivers of this, town salaries are up $97,705. This is the additional body with the restructure of senior center, social services, and recreation, and also includes the proposed part-time library employee and the transition from part-time to full-time library employee.
which we want to discuss at some point.
So those 3 make up that $97,000. Health insurance, you see a large jump there.
So
15.
the 97,000 is
It should be. There's another page after this. Yeah, right there behind.
okay.
So then health insurance is up $114,664, or 15.09%. We are budgeting a 0% increase to the monthly cost of health insurance. However, this includes 3 bodies that were not in fiscal 19 or were not in fiscal 20 that would be in fiscal 21. 2 of which are already are employees already here. One of which is the transition employee from part-time to full-time at the library. And then the fire department is a $58,184 increase, 5.82%. It's driven by contract agreements for salary and an increase in the supplies necessary to provide the appropriate care by paramedics. Those are your 3 big points of the budget.
What was the last one again? Fire department.
The fire department, yeah, it's the contract agreements for salary, and the supplies for paramedics are really the 2 that are driving up the cost in their budget. Scroll back up real quick so I can get you an exact number. And the med supplies are up $8,000. Salaries are going to be up.
60, right? Contract.
Salaries are going to be up about $70,000.
So those 3 total roughly $280,000. But we had also talked about offsets where rec department is charging for things, the ALS license. What is the revenue that we'll see?
So the
next
rec
fiscal
department,
year over?
we haven't looked at their revenue yet as far as their projections to go into the budget. They don't have a ton because they've got a lot of committed funds with the projects going on at the school. They've committed monies to the sound system. You guys approved that. They've committed monies to the splash pad. They've also committed monies to a study for the parks over there to look at, the future usage of space over there to develop further. So he's got, while he's got cash, he's got a lot of committed cash. So it's hard to say what you could really take from him.
I'm not looking to take, I'm looking for offsets. So
Yeah.
if we're adding an extra person into the senior center, social service and rec, we're adding another person and a half at the library, and we know that John's had to add some people and equipment to the fire department, but
Well, there's no new
revenue.
people in the fire department. The body count in the fire department is the same.
Okay.
It's just the contract
The extra
growth.
services, yeah.
And
The person at the senior center is it's the formation of the social services department. That didn't exist before, so that's the new body. So to say that recreation should pay for social services is kind of,
I'm not saying they should pay for it.
Right.
I'm asking.
yep.
We're providing a new level of service to the town that we weren't last year.
Right.
Through ALS and through some of these services.
Now there is an
We
increase.
also have revenue coming in from ALS and revenue coming in from rec. Is there an offset that?
There's an increase
Help
on the
us.
ambulance side.
Yep.
For the ALS, we are transferring more in, and it covers just shy of 50% of his total budget.
Yeah, so the jump is gonna be
Give me a
half
number. I don't know
million.
what 50% of his total budget means.
His
$500,000.
budget is His budget's 1.058, and we're transferring in $500,000. So it's going to be about 49.6% of his budget is being covered by the ambulance.
Okay.
Which is up significantly from last year.
Which is it's a
and increasing.
$200,000 increase.
You refer to that as a transfer?
Yes, that's a transfer in
I
because
thought that
it's a
was one to
separate
the
fund.
general fund. Didn't they?
Yeah, well, the monies go into the ambulance fund and then it gets transferred
Back.
into the general fund.
Yep. Okay.
Um,
So when we look at a $404,000 increase in the town budget, 200 of that's coming from service fees, another 204 from taxpayers.
basically, yeah, it's one way of looking at it. Sure.
Well, I think it's an important thing because we are making an investment to provide a new level of service to the town.
Yep.
And if we decide to go forward with the library, that's more services. We've got a better social service rec department, that's more services.
Yep.
So sometimes people say, why are we paying more taxes? Those are good reasons to explain why.
Absolutely.
Because residents want that stuff.
Yep.
If they want that stuff, they gotta vote for the budget. You can't have more services and less
And
money. That doesn't work,
absolutely.
right? So I'm trying to figure out,
The library is the only department proposing to add bodies. No other department has any additional bodies in it.
We talked about the library before. We talked about potential offset from the library board endowment. What do they come back with on that?
Never heard another peep from them.
And that's the point of the discussion. I, for one, am against adding additional personnel. We just having a hard time justifying that.
Just across the board, no additional personnel, is it?
Yeah, I mean, I look at the budget.
This year, yeah.
We're trying to maintain our tax rate at a minimal level. Potential increase, that's up to the Board of Finance, but to add additional bodies,
but we're
It's
talking about
expensive.
one.
We're talking about half a body.
we're talking
It's a
about
total-
half
it's
a
part-time.
full-time.
It's a
to
total of
full-time.
one FTE.
Yeah.
It becomes
it's a-
something
it's
that
a-
qualifies for health care.
Yeah, it's a $55,743 increase to the budget. That change in the library is worth just shy of $56,000 to the budget.
So health insurance has 3 new people that we're putting on to the health
Two of
insurance
which are
rolls.
already fully
Right.
employed.
But
Yep.
we're really only adding 1 new full-time equivalent as far as labor hours go across the town, right?
Yes.
And I think the justification, we discussed that in terms of the reorganization of the senior center and the recreation department, the delta change was less than 25,000, is it not?
Yeah, I forget the exact, but yeah. It's,
Which I think we've gotten nothing but positive feedback on that regard,
Correct.
right?
yeah.
We're
So-
continuing to expand. In fact, she's coming back with more initiatives, and the response has been
Remind me
exceptional.
what the benefit was gonna be to the library of adding this full-time person.
From what I remember was proposed was they were going to work with the middle school to reach the teams and
But they according to my notes, they hadn't talked to the middle school yet, right?
they really hadn't developed a plan. You're right.
But we're talking about 3 hours a day after school activity.
Yep. Which that they already do. They do. The guy that's currently the teen librarian is there in the afternoons. This full time would give him time without the teens to develop programs, I guess is really.
Which is basically what's attractive to the kids and what is the value added as to why they're there. Not just to hold them in a room and lock the door. You guys are on your own, right? It's to give them.
I mean, he's there
activities.
working with them now. They were talking about him going into the schools and working with the kids in the schools.
We're talking about giving
again,
the
this is something
incumbent
that would
a
have to be
full-time position rather than the part-time position.
You'd have to get sign off on the schools for that. Do the schools want us going in and
Well,
working
plus,
with them?
The other note I have is that once we make the person full-time, not only are they eligible, but there's a salary difference between summers and other similar positions that
Yep.
they would come back for a higher number next year from what.
Absolutely.
Right?
Also, I think it's premature at this point, Tim, because we have Allison looking at integrating some of her programs into the school system. I can't see adding another body to basically double efforts. We don't know exactly how we're going to transition this new social services.
Is there any possibility the school might be interested in supporting this position?
I haven't looked at that.
I've had conversations with the business manager who says that they really don't think they have that need. They have an individual in each one of the schools that does that kind of work already.
After school? I mean, I don't understand
During
that.
the day, not
Yeah,
after.
but the whole idea isn't it to give
So
these
there would
people
just be
something meaningful to
would just
do in after-school hours.
We have an after-school program.
Yeah, we do have
in
an
our school system
after-school
right now.
program
It's
already.
under Chris Boucher's leadership.
And,
But what they're talking about is additional kids, teenagers, going to the library, kind of. to
and
fill
also him going into the schools during the day to do activities with
Right.
the teens during the school day, not just after school. Right now,
That's what I thought.
his teen librarianship is strictly after school. They want to expand it for him to be in the schools during the day. Based
so
on
he
what
works-
Mike is saying, the schools are saying we already have that. We don't need someone else in the school.
So they're saying the school doesn't support it, is that what you're saying?
Oh, I don't know
I don't
that.
see it.
I don't know if
Yeah,
that's the official
I don't want to
word.
put words in the
That's-
school's mouth
Well,
by any means.
Would have been nice to hear from them. I mean,
Or have something from the library that says they have something from them. Like a letter from the superintendent would have been good.
can we do something contingent upon some kind of support from the library board endowment?
Well, my feeling is if there's really a need for it, the library has to justify it. And if they figure they can justify it, I think they should.
The library
before
can go to the Board of Finance
go to
and
the Board of
and
Finance
go
and lobby for it.
Lobby them for it.
Right. But from our standpoint, from the Board of Selectmen standpoint, I find it difficult to justify that given today's current budget situation. But if there's a real true need for that, either they can share in the cost by presenting that to the Board of Finance, or they can justify it by getting the Board of Finance to authorize it as part of the budget. My personal feeling is I can't see how we can afford to pay for that.
Well, I think
Right now.
what's killing me is the benefits cost. And like I'd said when the library was here, hiring a second part-time person to do that would be more sensible to me. And I know it's hard to find part-time people, but
But those benefits apply to everybody in town, don't they? Every
No.
employee?
Just full time.
Yeah,
two half-time people with no benefits would be less expensive
Yeah,
than one
he's
full-time.
right.
You can't increase from part-time to full-time and not get
Right.
No,
benefits.
I'm saying
benefits.
hire a second half-time person, a student that's in library sciences at UConn or somewhere that wants to learn this. If they need more space, I'd advocate for bringing in another.
Did she say something about losing this person?
Well, I think the
I think as I
concern
recall
was
hearing something about
the
that
person
in the
is
House.
already doing the job right now, and I guess because of the fact that the workload's increasing, the concern, I guess, was that particular person could leave, but I mean, that's speculative at this point. And again, we have hired Allison Maynard, and she is integrating herself and her programs into the school system. I can't see us replicating what she may come up with in terms of her programs with the school versus currently what the library is doing, plus our after-school program. So I think it's premature at this point. That's my analysis.
And the benefits cost for the individual is $27,036 for the year.
And then
You said 15 last time they were here.
15.
15,000 for benefits.
Yeah, these are based on actual numbers. I plugged them in and said, this is what our monthly cost is. This is what it would cost us, for each one.
So it's just not the salary; it's all the other benefits associated.
The salary
with it.
increase. The
Yeah,
salary
benefits are beyond the salary. The salary
Yeah.
was 33, right?
The salary is 20. The net on the salary is 28,707. The benefits are 27,036. So it's about a 95% fringe rate on this individual.
Double.
That seems out of whack. I don't understand that at
It's the
all.
cost of the benefits.
Well, it's not that much on the entire salary. It's that much on the salary increase, right? So the salary
His salary would be.
Yeah, because you did say 54% of the cost of the
That's our
benefits.
average across town. That's just an average that we use. That's not. I mean, every individual is different. My fringe is lower than somebody else's. And Mike's is lower than somebody else's. But you take a $35,000 employee and their cost of benefits is $30,000. Their fringe is higher, but it averages out to 54.5 across the
I see.
board.
Okay, average.
And then the second half-time person they were looking to add was for network
Technology
specialists, right?
specialist.
Yes.
What are we doing town-wide for technology?
Tristan is in all the buildings, including the library.
Is Tristan
already.
an employee?
No, he
he's
is a third-party
contract.
MSP.
Okay. And are we satisfied that that's working? Is there?
I mean, it
No,
seems to be working.
It's subject to change, though, based on the IT assessment that we just had done.
Oh, you had an assessment done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Security and
Love
assessment,
Shapiro
and
did
we're in the
an
midst of
analysis.
discussing all those findings with the
Well, I guess
Love
that's
Shapiro right now.
That's good to know.
And I'm in the midst of having some discussions, because it was a joint discussion, joint review with the Board of Ed. So there may be some overlap and some synergies between us and the Board of Ed in terms of how we handle all this IT. And it may change from exactly the way it's being handled right now. So just in my mind, just given that alone, it would be premature to hire a technology person.
Yep.
Because we don't know how this is all going to shake out ultimately and what the cost might be.
And to be honest with you, this part-time technology person costs more than Tristan costs us for the entire year to do all the buildings.
Well,
This would be just specific to the library.
Yeah, and that's where I was going. Are we better out? That's something that, to me, that we can outsource and still have a high degree of value
Yes.
to the town with. But hearing what Mike's talking about with a town-wide audit, I know what we went through. That's a good thing. So
Yep.
Yeah, I think the audit indicated we had some holes, if you will. Probably a B rating, I would say. So we're addressing all those aspects, but I think it was some money well worth spent to make sure we secure our system.
Okay.
So the question is additional discussion in terms of adding that full-time person to the
Well,
library.
how do
What would
we-
the numbers be, Brian, if
What's that?
what would the numbers be if we do not include those personnel at the library? Percentage.
Hold on. Let me get to my notes. I found what page I wrote it down on.
So right now the town increase is 5.07%, which includes those two additional people.
The two additional people being
The library.
Two.
One point from full-time to, one from part-time
Half-time
to
to
full-time,
full-time.
and a half-time person. So you're really looking at one full-time. In other words, one existing part-timer.
Okay.
Full-time.
yeah.
it would bring the increase to 347,238, or 4.36%.
Increase.
Yep.
The number again is what?
347,238.
That's after we scrubbed the budget at least 3 times and pulled out some of those additional savings we just discussed. So the objective here was to get a tight budget without adding people, knowing full well that there's going to be an increase from the Board of Education. That's going to be at least 3.81%, I think, right? Is that correct?
The initial number I was given,
It may come down.
it may, but the initial number I was given is 3.81%. Yeah.
And that's before the Board of Finance gets these numbers and scrutinizes them again.
Yeah, you guys.
But I think
have
we've done our
these
due
numbers.
diligence here in terms of looking at the budget.
I just thought it was important to add that person just because of the value added to the whole program, and that, as we talked before, it's a real investment in the community, and it seems to be paying off already. And
What I found out in my experience in industry and also here is there's always a wish list when you do budgeting. But it comes down to what we can't afford,
I understand that. I understand how
based upon
budgeting
what
works.
based upon what the alternatives are. And I think we have some alternatives here. I just think it's premature at this point to be looking at those bodies.
The alternatives are,
I mentioned about Allison, okay, the integration of what she's doing in terms of the school system. The existing person already performing that position. He wants to expand that. And plus the school's reluctance, I guess, again, to go along with their need in
I
terms
wouldn't
of.
call it reluctance.
Do we know
We
that-
don't- we don't have any
yeah,
indication.
we know that anybody's talked.
We don't have a plan. When we made the change for the Department of Social Services, there was an entire cost-benefit analysis and plan and in steps and goals. None of that exists in writing that anyone has seen. So I personally would be reluctant to grant anybody an increase or a position based on the absence of that. And to do that, you need to do your research and your due diligence in order to prepare something like that for this board to review and approve. That's where I
So
stand.
is that clear? Do people understand that when they're putting their budget together? That's what you're requiring? Is it your standards that they have to meet? Is
That's
that?
what everybody else
I
has
think
done.
that's pretty
Well,
clear.
I think I think
Question.
anytime anyone requests an increase in body count,
They have to
along with
justify
it
it.
comes justification.
So they know when they come in here, well, she tried to justify it, but
Yeah.
without what you're
I
proposing.
wasn't here for that meeting, so I'm not exactly sure how that presentation went, but I've never seen anything in writing on it, so.
Well, then department heads or directors of programs ought to know that unless they have a justification, it's dead on arrival, right? Isn't that what I'm hearing?
Well, and I think they brought what they thought was a justification, but it doesn't.
This is a
have-
new person too, right?
It doesn't have the elements that we were looking for.
No, Jessica's been with us a while.
Okay.
But I contrast that with what Chris Boucher did when we reorganized and added the social services director. The metrics she used, the justification, the financial analysis. It was a slam dunk as far as I'm concerned.
Well, it was well thought out, and we could see what his goals were and hold them
Right.
accountable for that as he went through the hiring and recruiting process. So
Right.
that's
Yeah.
slightly different. Let me know when you're ready, Tim, because I want to change channels over to transfer station when we're done with the library. So I want to
Okay,
make sure we've
so-
got.
Okay, I'm done.
So the question is, any additional discussion in terms of the library, addition of the library personnel?
Well,
Or
are we going to do a motion on the budget as a whole?
Yeah,
Yes.
as a whole.
So
Yeah.
before we
Okay.
get there, I wanted to we had talked about adding people at the transfer station to make sure that we've got the parsing of the different recyclables. So where did we end up on that? When the
I'll
budget
ask,
got done?
I'll
We
ask
can do that
Todd.
in the existing part-time salary
Correct.
line item.
Okay.
We don't have to add money.
Because
to
of
it.
the money that we're saving in the winter, frankly, the last few winters.
I was going to ask
this
you
year
about that.
particularly,
Yeah, the snow.
We're able
There's
to
money.
pay for it out of that line item, and, that would be half of it.
Gives you a little bit of cushion.
Yeah, I mean, we
Yep.
started in April this year, and it'll go through to October
Okay,
of
good.
next year, so looking at the trend of the winter, I think we'll be fine in paying that out of there. I don't think we'll have an overage.
Good to
And
hear.
And then it gives
Thank
you a
you.
little bit of wiggle room as well. Come next year, if winter is bad, you go, was it beneficial
Winter's
to have
bad,
them?
we'll forget about recycling, right? That's,
Well, no, it's more of like,
I hear you.
was it beneficial to even have the person? And if not, I mean,
Yeah.
they've been gone from October through April anyway. Do you rehire them for the season?
Right.
Okay.
I guess you got to see some benefit out of it. That's
Yeah, I
it.
just want to make
You
sure
know,
that
the difficulty is what are the metrics that
Well-
you're looking for, that they need to know what they need to meet
Well, we
before
would
you
look
hit
at
them
it-
after the fact that, hey, you didn't come up with the right metrics.
Well, really, we would look at our trend over time versus MSW versus recycling, is really what it comes down to. And if our cost in MSW goes down or is held firm and our recyclable goes up, then maybe we're getting a bump in bulky, because we seem to have, what we're seeing is people are trying to throw bulky items in the trash.
So you don't end
So
up
they have to pay
you don't
for
end up with a couch in the tipping
Yeah.
area.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Plus, Todd's done some analysis in terms of more education regarding the signs.
Yes, we're doing a
So-
trifold,
Yeah, I
we're gonna
think
hand
that's
out
great.
winter
Right.
permits.
All for that.
Right.
We've done more signs, we're doing another push, in fact, we're doing a green day, a total volunteer that approached me, we had a meeting yesterday, to celebrate Earth Day. It's gonna be, I think it's April 18th, this Saturday. I'm gonna be out in front of Kibbe with a truck handing out trash bags, and people are gonna adopt the street. So to
That worked
speak.
well last time they did it, right?
And that was all done through
Yep.
Hazelton and Nora Clement that spearheaded this effort, and they're
Yep.
gonna be reaching out to Rotary, KOC.
Scouts.
Girl Scouts are actually doing, there's a troop that's going to be called the Biapo, they're doing that on their own, but other scouts may get involved in the green up there, so there's
And
a lot of areas for,
And based upon our last discussion, I thought Brian's comments were apropos, given the fact that Manchester is probably 3 times the size of Summers
Easily.
Transfer Station. They have 2 people.
Well, I'd
on
like
the job.
to look into that myself.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
Well,
I live there. I can
Well,
experience
I'll
it
check it
firsthand.
out.
I mean, it's just the processes. You pull in, you go to the gate,
correct.
you pull up to a person, they tell you where to put the stuff.
That's what we're planning on
They
doing.
monitor where you're putting the stuff. I mean,
That's what we're not doing right now.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Right.
I think
And-
these people mean well, whether
Yeah,
it's
they're
Rick
great.
or
And on that
they want.
on that
people want.
subject, we're going to do some sort of informational sheet with dump stickers this year, right?
Yeah,
The
I
transfer
did a
station
trifold
stickers.
that we're gonna
Great.
hand out with it, it has a lot more information on it.
Good.
We're also trying to get people to do the paint care. We do every Saturday, first Saturday of the month in the warm months. Bring your paint. It's free to us. We just have one person to staff it. But instead of having to pay, this year the household hazardous waste, we do accept hazardous waste in Manchester, who we partner with, 7 other towns. However, we are gonna have to staff that 4 weekends out of this paint care, the household hazardous waste this summer, because as a cost-saving measure, our vendor went up. And they were gonna go more, but all of the towns agreed to staff it with 2 people. But it's cheaper because we pay by the unit, so if we can get our residents to bring their paint to the transfer station, that doesn't cost us anything other than our one-man labor.
So that's the
Versus
one
if-
day in May. Is that the?
No, it's the first Saturday of the month, April through October, at the recycling center. We take paint.
And then we're going to add shredding to that.
We're gonna have a
That's a
big
shred
push
day,
in,
yeah.
I think it's April.
I think it's April.
May through October. You said.
yeah.
Yes, yeah. It's paint there, first
Okay.
Saturday of the month.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
So to
Then-
answer your question, Tim, I've seen a change. I'm going to dump a lot these days, and people seem to be
Transfer
more-
station. Right.
Yeah, sorry, the transfer station, going to town dump. I apologize to that, Todd. But I see people being more cooperative because the signs are up now, and I think people really have the best interest in terms of doing the right thing. It's just a few exceptions that basically abuse it. If you don't want to spend $5 and put it in the bulky waste, they throw it in
They try to throw it in there.
Yeah.
but it's-
You know, the idea of the education, I think it's great. The flyer's fine, but would it be possible to have something like a refrigerator magnet that people could put on their refrigerators that they would remind them on a continual basis of,
We have done that in the past, we haven't printed any in a while. It just has the hours on it.
Yeah, we did the
You know,
hours.
There's just so much information with all of the stuff we do, mattress care, e-waste, white good waste.
It'd be a large
paint
magnet.
care,
Oh.
which all free if you have a sticker, your MSW, your recycling,
So when we send out the quarterly magazine, can't you just have one whole full page of that?
we're actually, the
We're gonna
next
do
one
that.
going out is gonna be all about the recycling.
Every quarter? Just do that every quarter, because people
No.
throw the
Well-
thing away?
Well, yeah, I mean, you could put a sheet in there with
put a
information
sheet in there.
about the transfer station every quarter. Yeah,
Kim-
the
Kim is
next
working
one's
on
going to
the
be
next
You
one.
highly
save,
It's
focused
all
on
recycling.
it.
save your copies? I'm just kidding.
I don't get one. I don't
Well,
write
it's
it
just,
down.
I mean, honestly, it's a little ironic too, because we're generating paper and telling people to recycle.
Well, yeah. Change is something that has to be managed. You can't just say it one time and have
Oh,
it
no.
happen, so it's got to be reinforced.
No, that's the whole point.
You gotta hit them when they're hot too. I mean, when somebody's the teacher appears and the student's ready, because if it's not in their vision, then they're not gonna see it, no matter how many times they hand it out. So they really have to be in front of them all the time.
Great, thanks.
All right, well, I'll make a motion then that the board forwards a proposed budget to the Board of Finance in the amount of $8,315,689.
No.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
$8,315,689,
I apologize.
which
Yeah.
would be modified from what was presented by the elimination of the 2 part-time additional staff at the library. I think I've got that number right, if we could verify.
The number is-
8,315,689.
The
And
number
the
is correct.
increase
Yes.
is 347,238.
Yep.
Correct.
And we encourage the library board to make their pitch to the Board of Finance.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
Well, we
we're
just
not
assume
trying to
they're
be
gonna
ogres here.
figure that out
We're just saying,
themselves.
give us the justification, and if they have a good case to present.
We could give them a few pointers that might be helpful to, I don't know, just,
Well, the reason I raised my eyebrows is that we have other directors that have done their due diligence, and I would expect that as town employees to do that themselves, but if they want to come to us, we'll be glad to help them out in that regard.
yeah. I'll second that.
Okay, any additional discussion?
Thank you, Brian, and like.
All in
Ben and
favor?
everybody.
Aye.
Budget passes. Okay,
Do we need to vote on the timeline, or is that already?
No, that's already
already-
been
that's already
done.
set.
You guys did that
Already done.
in January, I think.
Whatever you say, man.
Yeah. It's been a long couple of months.
any additional comments, Mike or Brian, regarding the budget?
I don't have any. No.
I want to publicly compliment both Brian and Mike for their efforts in this regard, as well as all of our directors. They really did a good job in terms of putting this
So
budget together.
so you'll be prepared to present this to
Yes.
them on
Monday.
Monday night?
Yeah.
And I'd like to say thanks again to John for opening up the firehouse so we could see
That was-
firsthand
that
what
was
we needed.
excellent.
If there's something similar next year or in the future years at DPW, that's
We'll
where
get a
it's very
tour of the
helpful.
transfer station. How about that?
Sure, anytime.
You gotta go Thursday between 1 and 3 though. You gotta have a sticker. Not getting in without a sticker.
I did have one question for Todd. I'm sure it's rudimentary here, but the LOF acronym is some kind of maintenance,
Oh, for the, on the,
LOS
monthly
service?
report, yeah.
Yeah,
Lube oil filter.
senior bus service?
Lube oil filter, it's your
Okay,
basic,
all right, okay.
anytime you're doing
Got
it.
it.
But I want to follow up on Tim's comments about the chief as well as Todd Rollins, since those two departments are the highest.
They're the two
in
largest
terms of
budgets in
volume.
town.
And we kind of, can I use the term squeeze you a bit? But they were very cooperative.
I don't think you can use that term in 2020.
My whip marks are still healing, but it's okay.
Let's put it this way, they were very receptive, and they came back and really did a due diligence in terms of their budget. And that's helped us in terms of keeping the increase to a minimum.
Thank you.
You did have one typo in your parks and buildings. The date you had was 12/29/19
Oh,
to 1/47/20.
I might have changed it.
January
Might have been
47.
1/07.
I was there that day.
Might have been 1/07.
As long as January was, I'm convinced there might have been 47 days in that month. God, it seemed like it was never going to end.
Okay,
Okay. To adjourn,
Move to adjourn?
second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
6:45.
How active is our
This is taking.
EDC now?
It's funny you mention that, because I had a meeting today with Vicki Clark, and